Snow! Hey book buddies, I'm Eric from Lonesome Reader. It is snowing in London today, and that doesn't happen very often anymore, so I thought I would film in front of my back garden, which is has a lovely blanket of snow over it. It makes it sort of, when it snows in London, it makes it all feel like a bit Dickensian, because like you read in Victorian novels how like it's snowing in London quite often. That doesn't actually happen in reality much anymore. So it's sort of, it's charming in a way, although it's like also annoying because it also brings all the trains to a stop, because like London transport, it just freaks out whenever there's any bit of weather. But anyway, I thought I would memorialize the moment and film in front of the snow, but that means that this is a sort of weird place to be filming, so the lighting's a bit off, so sorry about that. But I wanted to make a video today because I have some exciting news, and I know I mentioned a while ago that I was going to be involved in a classic book project. Well, it's finally launched. But let me first explain to you my involvement in it. So obviously I have a huge passion for reading and books, and naturally over the years I've wondered, like, should I try working in the publishing industry somehow, or get into journalism? But then I've always gone back and forth about whether this would actually be a good thing. Like, on the one hand, I'd be working on something that I love, but then on the other hand, I know that publishing is a business, and more often than not, I'll probably be working on titles or like campaigns that I might not personally be that passionate about. Of course, right? I mean, that's what makes it work. It's a job, and so it's like it's not necessarily something that you'll love to be doing all the time. And over the past few years, I've sort of tested the waters and had some interviews, but it's never really felt quite right. But at the beginning of this year, I took a part-time job with Jellybooks. This is a company that creates reader analytics and audience insights. You know how marketing companies do focus groups, like if a new film is going to be released, they have a test screening. Well, it's the same thing, but with books, where readers are offered advanced electronic reading copies of books so that they can give feedback about their reading experience and how long it took them to read it. Jellybooks have taken me on specifically to work on Project Crabapple, and in this project I get to select groups of out-of-copyright classic books for readers to enjoy every month. I should say that the company hasn't asked me to make this video. I just wanted to tell you about this fun life update, and if you want to join in, then that would be great, because it's something I'll be participating in and reading along with too. For this first month, I've picked a group of 8 all-time favorite classic novels. So you know how like these lists come out periodically of like all-time great classic novels, or the people's most beloved novels of all time. Well, I scanned lots and lots of these lists, and I picked out 8 books that I found were appearing again and again, because I think it'll be interesting to see what our personal reactions to these books are. And these are probably books that like we've always meant to read, or that we want to reread if we read them like early in our teenage years. Also, excitingly, I've been able to create my own covers for these novels and write summaries for them. So the campaign is online now. If you want to have a look and find out more and join in, I'll put a link in the description below. The way it works is that you go to the website, you create a Jellybooks account, and then you go to this specific classic books campaign where you're able to select 2 titles from the list. And there's no rush. You have 2 months to join this reading group, and I'll regularly be launching every month new groups of classic books. Once you've made your selections, you can download these books to an electronic reading device. Like with Apple devices, you can open them in iBooks or Adobe Digital Editions, or on Android devices, like a whole range of reading apps that they use. Sorry, you can't open them on Kindle devices, but once you've downloaded them, you can start reading. So I use an iPad, and I quite often read on my iPad. So I've downloaded my first book, which is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Now you may ask, why would I get these classic books from Jellybooks when they're so readily available? But this is the fun interactive part. So every time you finish reading a chapter, you click a button that says Sync Reading Stream, and this will save your progress in the novel to your Jellybooks account and what times of the day you've read this novel. It's kind of like checking in on Goodreads to say what page you've got to in a particular book. But in your Jellybooks account, you get to see a range of charts and info about how you actually read. And this is the really fascinating part and what makes it an interactive reading group. When you finish reading the book, you'll be asked to fill in a brief survey about your reading experience as well. And we'll periodically be surveying people's reading progress across the board, and then I'll occasionally be posting interesting updates about it. And nothing about specific readers. Anything that identifies particular readers is kept private. Just information about the reading group as a whole. So you know how we think every reading experience is unique, and the circumstances that we read a book in are unique, so that affects how we perceive the story. And that's true. Every reading experience is something personal to that individual. But there's also a kind of science to it if you look at the reading patterns of a group of people. Say, for instance, that most people read Anna Karenina at a fairly steady pace until they get to one tricky chapter, and then they stop reading it for a while, or maybe never pick it up again. Or maybe because the picture of Dorian Gray has a particular cover, you were expecting a different kind of story from what you got. Or maybe people of a certain age are prone to reading David Copperfield over, say, Wuthering Heights. These are things that we can see and deduce from looking at reading patterns and surveying a large group of readers. And I think that's fascinating, and it's a way of organizing a reading group where we can consider how we read and our responses to books from a totally new perspective. And it'll give us a whole new look, not just on classic books, but on how we read classic books. So that's my news. This is a really fun thing to be doing, and it's a way of like dipping my toe into the publishing industry without getting totally soaked, you know? I mean, I'm gonna be really busy because on top of this like part-time job with Jellybooks, I still have my full-time job, which has nothing to do with publishing at all. So if you feel like joining in, that'd be great, but if you don't fancy it, then that's fine too. I'll list all the books that'll be in the first group below as well, so let me know if any of these titles are ones that you've been meaning to read for a long time or wanting to reread. This makes a good chance to do so. And I'm definitely going to be reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein for the first time, which makes sense because it was published for the first time exactly 200 years ago, but I haven't quite decided what my second title is that I'm going to be reading yet. Let me know if you have any questions, although if you have technical questions, you're probably better off going to the Jellybooks website where there's a whole help section. But I'm eager to hear your thoughts and start reading with you, so thanks for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Speak to you again soon.